time. It's our time, my friends. Time for millions of maturepreneurs, 55 plus, who are hashtag not done by a long shot, to revolutionize how we lead, do business, and innovate our world. I'm your host, Jeanette Anderson, and welcome to my conversations with fascinating people who would rather inspire than retire. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Maturepreneur podcast. I am your hostess, Jeanette Anderson, the Maturepreneur Maverick. Try and say that 5 times really fast. And I'm here today with the beautiful, amazing, and intelligent Christina Flach. Did I say your last name right?
You did. Thank you very much.
I'm glad. And you're calling in from San Francisco, correct?
I am.
Awesome. So we are doing this a little bit on the fly. So I'm going to give you a bit of the official word around Christina, and then we're going to actually ask her to fill in some of the blanks about what she's been up to, what she's doing. But today we're going to be talking about not only how to think about beauty as we age and sage in our journey, and how to not be invisible in the world and how to show up and shine, but also about Christina's journey of building 2 businesses, a TV podcast or a TV show, as well as a beauty business and all of the ins and outs of that. So we are here to talk about business, beauty, and whatever else pops up. So hang on and stick with us. Christina Flach is a celebrity hair and makeup artist based in San Francisco Bay Area. After starting her career in 1955, seriously? That can't be right. Hold on. I must have read that wrong as I was looking off to the side here.
Yes, I wasn't even born then.
Yeah, I was going to say, no, that can't be right. Okay, 1995. There we go. She founded her own makeup line, Pretty Girl Makeup, and has acquired many notable clients. She's worked with many major television networks, celebrities, designers, department stores, magazines, and big name brands, and is an expert at creating looks that allow her clients' natural beauty to shine through by making every client feel like the best version of themselves on the inside and the outside. She's a philanthropist, a beauty expert on NBC's CA Live, and a guest on a variety of podcasts like this one. Christina is represented by Zenobia and Ford Artists New York City, and is available to speak to your organization and group. So that's some of the official word, but we really want to find out more about you. So tell us what people wouldn't guess about you, Christina. What are some of the things that maybe even your friends don't know about you?
Well, I'm a mother of 5. I'm also girl. Yes. I am also. I've started a new company. Well, I started a podcast called I'm Too Busy, because I always thought that, because of my job meeting all these amazing people on set, that it would be so great to interview them. So I started I was approached by a company in New York over a year ago to start doing a podcast and TV show called I'm Too Busy, because everyone is too busy. And so then my business partner and I we trademarked the name, and we have started a skincare brand called I'm Too Busy, and a makeup line that will be coming out in 2026 in Q1. And we were approached a few months ago by a supplement manufacturer, that we are collaborating with them to do a supplement called Reboot. And it's all about gut health, which is so important as we age, because it affects our skin, our organs, our hair, everything, our sleep.
Absolutely.
So that's going to be launching in August of 2025. So we're super excited about that. And let's see, what else do I do? Yes, I'm on California Live on NBC, and I still do photo shoots and do podcasts, and I write for magazines as well.
Awesome. Okay, you sound like you're busy, and probably too busy, like a lot of us. So
yes.
We're going to talk a little bit about how you balance that all out, especially being mother of 5, and how you built this empire and the businesses that you've created. But let's start with your why. Why do you do what you do? What's your purpose in life, Christina? Because we kind of roll deep here on the Maturepreneur podcast. So tell me what your purpose in life is.
Well, I started Pretty Girl in 1999 because I was a mother of 5 driving around in a battle between my water bottle and my lip gloss and lipstick. I couldn't keep it on. I was constantly drinking water, and I thought, this is ridiculous. Everyone I tried that was long lasting was damaging to the skin and drying and awful. And so I thought, well, I'm going to just create my own. And ignorance is bliss, because you don't know what you don't know. So I formulated, it took over a year to formulate with a beauty science, a chemist. And it takes so much longer than you realize, because you have to formulate the texture and then the colors and then everything else, the packaging, the marketing. So that's why I started that. And then I'm too busy. I started because I am so busy, and I think everyone else is so busy. And I wanted everyone to have the opportunity to have a good skincare that wasn't so many steps. It's 3 steps. And we do a reverse cleansing, which is, my chemist asked me, what do you do first thing in the morning? And I said, I splash my face with water. And he said, do you drink that water? And I said, of course not. He said, so why would you put it on your skin? So what we came up with is, a moisturizer and a cleanser, steps 1 and 2, to protect the skin as a barrier before you splash your face with water. And then the 3rd step is protection. And then the supplements I started because I am obsessed with gut health. And, I've had clients on set that have had major skin issues. And I ask them, what are you eating? What is going on? Why is your skin so inflamed? And a lot of it is what we eat or not eat. And so I had a model once on a Friday just with horrible breakout of skin. And I get hired because my work is flawless and they don't have to do a lot of retouching. Well, this particular, there's only so much I can do when someone has like tumors on their face. And so I told her, I said, look, do you trust me? You need to do what I say until Monday, because we had 2 more days. So I had her on celery juice, different green juices, water with lemon in the morning, just flushing out her system, and probiotic. So gut health really does affect your skin. And so by the time Monday came out, her skin looked entirely different in 2 days.
Wow.
So it wasn't, I don't believe in putting a bunch of products on your face topical, because these type of issues, skin issues, are from the inside out. They're not just putting on something and it's going to get better. It'll help it, but it's not going to really address the true problem. So that is why I did that.
All right. So that's kind of the motivation behind that. But in kind of a deeper term, your whole life, what's been something that you've really been passionate about, probably been passionate about solving in the world? Yes, we want to maintain our lip gloss while we're drinking water, but overall, what's the bigger problem that you really want to address with all of these businesses that you're doing?
I want people to look and feel like the best versions of themselves. And I think that, makeup isn't something that I just slather on people as a superficial thing. I enhance their beauty. I want them to look and feel confident. So when they do a TV show or a podcast, or if they're doing a catalog or, something, that they can really focus on, or if they're speaking. I do a lot of speaking, and I do a lot of CEOs that are speaking in front of a lot of people. When they don't feel like the best versions of themselves, it's really hard for them to be focused. They're distracted. They're looking at the monitor and thinking, oh my God, look at my black circles, look at these zits, like it's terrible. So I want people I love making people feel confident, and that they're able to focus on what they need to be focused on with their business, right, and feel like the best version. I think, I don't find this to be a superficial thing. I think people are all visual. Mm-hmm. And I think that people, when they are confident and they feel good about themselves, they're going to be a much better version of themselves, to express themselves, and they're just going to be in a much happier place. And I really do believe it is from the inside out. It is what you eat, water you drink, rest is incredibly important, exercise, gratitude, wellness is a huge thing. And so I really try to educate my clients on just overall well-being of good health and nutrition and taking care of themselves. So you can give so much more when you don't feel tired and exhausted, and you can be a better version of you. And so I don't find self-care to be selfish. I find it to be the greatest gift you can give everyone. If you take the time to wake up in the morning and you have your water, your green juice, your tea, you eat some protein, you're able to exercise, you are going to be so much more equipped to go out into the world and give to everyone all the amazing traits that you have.
That fits and makes a lot of sense. Is that a kitty or a puppy beside you?
It's a puppy.
Okay, because
he always manages to get right in the camera. And when I'm on NBC, the cameraman always laughs. The dog always perches himself somewhere, so he's always on the show.
Yes, I've got a cat where I am right now, and because I am polyamorous, and one of the things that I do is travel around and pet and house sit so that I get animals that I don't have to be responsible for long term. And he loves coming up here. The only reason he's not here right now is because he's sleeping, so that's good. So I hear you. What is the were you an entrepreneur before you started Pretty Girl Cosmetics? Because you mentioned it was a big journey that you weren't aware.
Yes, actually, I was. I started an import-export business to Mexico. I think when I was a young child, I even house sat for people. I cleaned houses. I pet sat. I watered people's plants. I've always kind of had that entrepreneurial spirit. So yes,
sound like a sister.
And also.
Yes, me too. From the 5 on, I had my first franchise when I was 5, and I had a lemonade stand, and I could see that there was traffic at the other corners that I couldn't get to. So I got my mom to give me the other 3 TV trays. I don't know if you're old enough to remember those sets.
Of course. And I love those. I wish they still had them.
I know, me too. They made signs, and I recruited 3 of my friends, and I stuck them on the other corners, and we gave them signage, and they gave us 50% of what they made, and they got to keep 50%. So that was first franchise when I was 5. So I get that entrepreneurial spirit. So tell me a little bit about when you first started to be an entrepreneur. What were some of the biggest challenges for you when you were younger, and then now versus doing business now?
Well, when I was younger, it was just me doing services. But as you get older and you start businesses, funding is incredibly hard. You can't do it on your own. Business plans you need to have. And so that wasn't my expertise, so I didn't have one when I started Pretty Girl. I just kind of paid as I went along with my American Express and did what I could do. And so now it's a very different story with, I'm too busy. We're calling it ITB Wellness. I have 2 business partners, and they are very successful businessmen that we are doing it. Normally, I would have created a product and thrown it out into the world. And it's the exact opposite this time. We have a business plan. We have a whole plan before the product's even made. So it's very different.
Go ahead.
It's just a much more effective way to do it. It's just a different way because we're doing it with, we have so much more with these algorithms now to see what actually is what do people want?
Mm-hmm.
What demographic is going to be, most are we focusing on? So it's just a different way. It's just such an elevated way of doing it. And I think it's going to be incredibly successful. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, I do agree. I think that using AI and tools like that to do research and to be able to target markets on social media and to be able to really hone in on business in a different way now gives us a lot of advantages that we didn't have when we were bootstrapping in the past. In the past, it was knock on doors, pick up the phone, etc., which still does work. Actually, it's very effective because people don't do it. But tell me
That's true.
What's your was it an incremental change in your context or how you think about yourself in business to go from that bootstrapping kind of pay-as-you-go entrepreneur to what I would call now a business person, a businesswoman, because there's a there's a fairly big difference between being a solopreneur and being a business owner with partners and funding and starting a business, which is, as you said, very different. What shifted in you? What had to change within you to make that leap?
Well, I think the beauty industry shifted incredibly. When I started Pretty Girl, it was in the beginning of the 2000s. It was there were celebrities, there were agents, there were stylists, and publicists, and that's who you dealt with. There was no such thing as an influencer. There was no social media. So all you did was send product to a celebrity. They would wear it. They would comment on it to the press, and that would be that. And so I had to change with how things were shifting in the beauty industry because I couldn't compete. I can't compete with a Rihanna or a Kardashian. There's an endless supply of money. So I had to go about this completely differently, or I wasn't going to succeed.
Right. So for people who are thinking of, because I've basically got 3-4 markets that I support and serve. One is the getting clear market. So those who are in that transition stage of figuring out, okay, what's next? Who am I now that I'm not the CEO I've been my whole life? Or who am I now that I'm not the, stay-at-home mom or whatever it has been? And what is my next chapter going to be? So they're really clarifying their vision and their purpose. If you were at that point right now, if you were clarifying what was next for you and you didn't have your businesses, what advice would you give them? What would you be focusing on if you were not done? And clearly you're not, because you're still doing businesses and starting businesses at 57. And so what would you be advising those people who are making that transition?
That's a super easy question. And it's something that I've told my children. Figure out what you love doing so much that you would do it for free, and then figure out how to get paid and where you want to be. Okay. And it's very simple.
Yeah.
And get very clear on what you want to do. Go do a part-time job or intern or shadow someone and see what they do and see if you like it. To me, my dream job would be to be a florist. I love flowers. I love making bouquets. But in reality, do I even know what that entails? No, I have no idea at all. But in my mind, I always walk by a flower shop or stand and think, oh, I would love to do that. It looks so fun. And I'm sure it's a very difficult job, but that is something that I would love and I love. And so that would probably be something that I would look at as something to do if I had not all these hundreds of business companies.
That might be the retirement business down the road.
Perhaps.
So tell me a little bit more about so the second market is the getting going market. And many of them, one of the big challenges for maturepreneurs right now is that we tend to be an overlooked and dismissed and undervalued market. Lots of people assume that if you're 55, 60, 65, you're retired. The reality is literally only about 20% of the population is choosing to or can afford to retire. The rest have to create income and want to create meaning and contribution. So there's a bunch that are getting going, but it can be quite challenging because they tend to be invisible, dismissed, etc., which is, quite infuriating, especially women. What advice would you have them in terms of getting going? Because it can be quite challenging to get funding. There is no business insurance for people who are over 60. Banks tend to not want to loan money to them. Because you had a bit of a history, you were able to draw on that, a lot of a history, and call in partners and funding. For those who are getting going, what would you say would be, based on your experience, what's a good path to pursue? How do they get that started?
That is a really good and a very difficult question. And I don't even know if I can answer that. I have been in this industry, I did a bunch of different things in my career. But it was all beauty related. I spoke on podcasts. I'm on TV. I wrote articles in magazines. And I kept my portfolio up to date. And I do a lot of different things in the beauty industry. So they came to me. I didn't even expect to come up with a TV show or, this second brand. I didn't expect to do that. So again, I think that is a very challenging predicament to be in. But I think if you figure out what's everyone, especially over 55, you have so many more skills than you realize. What did you do for so many years? Were you an accountant? Well, maybe you don't want to be an accountant anymore, but maybe you want to be an accountant for a nonprofit or for a school. I think you just have to be creative and start kind of brainstorming. What skills do I have? And I think it's a mindset. I think, people like to feel sorry. Oh, I'm too old, or I feel like I don't want to hear that negativity. I want to hear solutions. Figure out what it is that you want to, okay, let's back up a bit. Did you ever hear about the blue zones?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I find it fascinating.
Yeah. And
what I found fascinating was that these people were living to be over 100 and they were busy. They were doing things. They had purpose. They woke up every day with something to do. They weren't, I think retiring is kind of a negative thing. It's like, okay, you can retire from a job that you're doing, but it's not about the money. I mean, sometimes, of course, it's about the money, but it's not always. It should be about what you enjoy doing and what makes you want to. If you want to age in a healthy, happy way, you need to have purpose every day. You need to wake up with a passion. On the Blue Zone, I remember this one woman, she was over 100 and she was Sicilian, and they asked her, why did you think you've lived so long? And she said, oh, it's because of my faith. Well, her faith was up a big hill that she walked to every day. So it's about movement. Exercise is really important. It makes me sad that people retire from something and don't have a plan. What's your next plan? You could live if you retire at 60, you could easily live another 30 years.
Yes.
I mean, that's a long time you've got to figure out what it is you want to do with those 30 years. I'm not saying you're going to go get another full-time job, but you've got to figure out something that brings you joy. I don't know. It might be horses. It might be, education. I don't know. But I think it's important to figure out something that gives you purpose and that makes you feel good inside. Super important.
Absolutely. Meaning matters. Those who don't have meaning and purpose in their life live 7 years less and qualitatively less healthy years than those who do. So it's really important for us. So in terms of business where you are now, what's the thing that's got you the most excited about what you're doing? So not the products or whatever, but what engages you as the leader in your business? What parts of it do you love doing?
What I love doing now with having these two business partners is that I can focus on my strengths and not be freaking out about, oh my God, how are we going to pay for this? Do we have a business plan? Is there marketing? It takes so much weight off of me that I can focus on the things that I'm really good at. I'm really good at communicating. I'm good at writing. I'm good at, formulating new products with chemists. And so I can really focus on my strengths. And I also, this is the best part, I get to learn from these businessmen. It's like going to Harvard MBA school. I get to hear, I get to learn from them to strengthen my business skills. So, I think you never want to stop learning. I think that's when you start dying, is when you stop living and dying and exploring and don't want to do things.
Exactly. So let's talk about the partnership a bit, because this is a strategy that can support people who may not be, as confident in making the entrepreneurial leap, or like most entrepreneurs, we have skills in either the visionary strategist realm, the person who does the thing, the service deliverer, or the operational side of things. Typically, we don't have all three. So how did you choose your partners, and what would you advise people who are thinking of either expanding their business or starting a business with a partner? Because you've learned a lot, I'm sure, in the process of going through.
I have. And I've had partners that were not good partners, that they were just kind of latching on to me and expecting me to do everything. Right. So it's like a marriage. It's actually as important, because you have to make sure that you have the same work ethic, the same morals, values. It's really important. My partners, they are from the South. They're Southern gentlemen from South Carolina, and they we all have the same work ethic and the same morals, values, and ethics. So it's really, really great that we have this, we will work on a Saturday or a Sunday. We'll have a 7 a.m. meeting and it doesn't bother us. And I think it's really important to really be clear on what you're doing and who's going to do what, and that everyone is participating equally. It's not always going to be every day it's going to be equal, but that you have the same goal. It's very, very important to find the right partnership, and it's not easy.
Okay, I just heard 4 points, maybe 5 in there. One, to really make sure that there's a symbiotic sense of or worldview, that you have similar values and ethics and approach to the world and perspective, because if not, you're going to be pulling against one another or not respect each other or not be operating in the same way. The second is to make sure you've got really clearly articulated roles and responsibility, who's doing what, not crossing over into each other's business, but making sure that you've taken care of capitalizing on your strengths and they're capitalizing on theirs, and that's complementary, that you're clear on your plan and goals. You know where you want to go and you're all on the same page as far as those goals and objectives, and that you really do. Kind of the piece that I heard in there as well is that you actually like each other and want to work together and support one another and have that bigger purpose that also pulls you forward as part of the goals, or that combined shared commitment. Anything else you would tell people when they're looking for a partner?
Yes, respect. That's another one. That's the final one. I have such respect for my partners, and they do for me as well. And we're very respectful of each other. We're very friendly, but not overly. I don't, there's just, there's boundaries, there's respect and follow through. If one of my partners asks me to do something, I do it. And if I'm not able to complete a task that they've asked of me, I will, communication is very important. I make sure I communicate with them with an email. Hey, I wasn't able to finish this because of this. But it will get done at this date. So I think it's just very important to have respect for each other and commitment to the goal. And what is the goal? You guys have to, we have the same goal. Our goal is to be acquired within a certain number of years. It would be really hard to have a partnership with my 2 partners if one of them wanted to do this for like 25 years. And I'm not saying we're not going to do another project, but I'm just saying if one of us really wanted to hold on to the company and the other 2, had a goal of getting it out there and being acquired by something bigger, it would be a problem. So you have to really make sure that your goals are the same.
Yeah.
They're aligned. Very important.
Yeah. The goals around the kind of business you want to build and also what your exit strategy is. You mentioned boundaries, which is interesting because a lot of people might assume that it's best to go into business with family members or close friends because you've got that trust factor already. So why are boundaries important, do you think, in terms of partnerships?
Because of respect. I think sometimes familiarity, people get a little too comfortable. And so with my partners, I'm not overly, there's just a line of respect, and I don't want to let them down. I don't want to disappoint them. And I just think it's really important. I mean, I think sometimes what happens, it's natural. I think sometimes people will do a project, they'll go into business with a friend or a family member, and the qualities that they need aren't there. Just because they're a friend doesn't mean that they have the same work ethic, the same goals. And so if they align with a family member or friend, that's fantastic. But if they don't, you could really damage the relationship forever. So you have to be really, really clear on, what you're doing and who you're doing it with.
Yeah, absolutely. I can speak to that from personal experience. Not quite the same thing, not a partnership, but I was a long time ago cooking in forestry camps and oil and gas camps, and I was cooking and hired my mom to be my campy, or my person who was my assistant, my sous chef kind of, and she couldn't do the job and she couldn't keep up, and I had to fire her. firing your own mother from a job that she really needed, which is part of why I hired her, was very difficult, but I had to put the job first. And so center packing, which was challenging, let me tell you, and a great relief because I could finally get shit done that I couldn't when she was there. So,
right. I bet that was very challenging. And you wouldn't expect that. It's so funny. The problem is because there's not communication ahead of time of expectation, that you just assume, especially your mother, that you would have the same, energy, work, like all the things, and they don't. So you didn't have those conversations that you would have with an employee that you were having. So you have to, and that's another thing. If you're, this is a huge problem. People hire their children, huge mistake. Like right out of college or, before that they've gone out in the world and experienced what working with real grownups is, with real responsibilities. And the kids think they go into their kid mode of the relationship. They think like they can conduct themselves the way they do at home, and you cannot. And then the problem with the parent, I had this with my husband. He opened these restaurants, he hired his kids, and his expectation, I love my husband to pieces, and I loved our kids, but he treated them differently than other employees. And you cannot do that. It affects the other, it messes with the morale. The other people start resenting. It creates a disaster. It is an absolute disaster. So my advice also is don't hire your kids until they've gone out and worked for other people and learned really good work ethic and really good skills.
Yeah, awesome. That's great advice. And one of the things that a lot of people are probably curious about is, what would you advise them if you were starting a business now at 57? So yes, you said, make sure you do what you love. What piece of advice would you give someone who wants to scale their business right now? You've called in partners, you're looking for funding. Is there anything in terms of how they think, I call it their context, that might need to shift for them to be a leader on a bigger level? What
don't micromanage. That's the problem a lot of CEOs encounter. They do startups and they're used to doing everything. The marketing, the social media, the buying, like everything. Mm-hmm. And they have a really hard time letting go. Mm. And it's important when you hire people, let them do their job. I mean, obviously you have to train them and show them and, things like that and communicate with them. But you're going to get a much better result from people if you show them respect and let them do what you hired them to do and not be butting into everything, and focus on your skills, focus on what you do well.
Right.
That's the only way you're going to expand.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and many entrepreneurs tend to be control freaks. They like to have control over their universe, and that's part of why they are entrepreneurs versus employees. And so letting go is a really big challenge. They need support with that. Did you ever hire a coach or someone to support you in your growth as a business owner?
That's a great question. I've actually been blessed with being on photo shoots with incredible CEOs. Incredible. Sam Altman. I've done tons of business shows on Bloomberg. So I have the blessing of hearing people interviewed all the time, different CEOs. One of my clients is the CEO of Robinhood. He's a billionaire. And I watch how he is. He does not control. He's not a control freak. He's meticulous in his hiring of people and he lets them do their job. And that is the only way to expand. You can't do 20 different jobs. And if you think you're going to micromanage 20 different people, then you're not doing your job.
Right.
And your job is to let them do their job. So that's when CEOs get into trouble because they are just too controlling and it
gets in the way. You've had the blessing of having what I call mentors of the mind. So people who have shared their wisdom with you or that you've got to kind of learn firsthand from. If you could go back to when you were starting your first business, what would you have done different in terms of the support you called in? Would you have hired a business coach? Would you have hired teams sooner or later? What looking back now, would you have changed any part of what you did when you started to grow Pretty Girl?
Oh my gosh. So everything, absolutely everything differently. I would have gotten a partner that was a business partner that really knew what they were doing. I would have, I would have expanded differently. You okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. Keep going. I'm just going to cough.
Okay. Okay. I would really try. I would do things. I did the best I could when I did this. This was, almost 30 years ago. So there wasn't such a thing as business coaches back then. I didn't even know what a CEO was when I started. They don't hand you a CEO, handbook. I mean, now they do, but now there are. And, there was no AI then. There was nothing. So it's just a very different, if I could go back, yes. But see, now I've got the wisdom from all those years ago. So now with my new company, I've made all those mistakes. I'm not making them again. So I've got the experience to know what needs to be done now.
Which makes a big difference.
Oh, it's life-changing.
I had flu and I still have some coughing going on.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Dear. So in terms of growing your business, I know you do a lot of media, you do podcasts, you've got your TV channel. Growing your business now, if you didn't have, again, the background you have now, what would you do to grow the business quickly?
Probably like what I've been doing. I would, it's just given me a lot more credibility, like with my partners, that I write articles, that I am an expert on TV shows, that I speak on podcasts, that I'm comfortable to speak in public. I was terrified when I started doing this type of thing. I started speaking on podcasts. My husband passed away 7.5 years ago. He was a former #1 in the world tennis player, doubles player, Ken Flach. And so after he passed away from sepsis, the Sepsis Alliance asked me if I would speak about raising awareness for sepsis, and because we didn't know what it was. And so I started doing that, and I was terrified. I was, even doing a little interview on the computer, and God, if I had to do it on TV, I was dying inside. So I just started, it just took time. It takes time to learn to be comfortable to speak and not go, I don't know. Like, I'm very clear. I'm very clear on my message, on my brand. And it also helps my brand that I am a makeup artist still. I have 3 agents and I go on set still. So I have a lot of credibility. When my partners found me, and the TV show, the people that they found me, it was because of all the different things that I had been doing. I didn't even realize that everything I was doing was going to lead up to this.
Right.
So
yeah. And part of the thing is a lot of people may not realize that in your background, you have things that you can draw on: credibility, connections, relationships, previous work that you've done, being known. You don't have to do the same work that you've been doing, but you can capitalize on the credibility.
On your reputation. When people see that, I have an incredible work ethic, that they see that, like, they Google me and they'll see that, like, there's reviews about my work and my reputation, so that will roll over into your next career, which is happening now. So I also think that I am not one of those people, and I know you're the same. I'm not someone, my sister is a very high level executive at a big company, and that works great for her. She has a normal job and a normal schedule. She knows when she's going on holiday. She knows when she's got a day off. I have no idea about anything. You have to, being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart. Mm-hmm. Especially as a maker, I don't know how much money I'm making.
Yep.
I make money when I work, but I have other businesses and I have investments, so I'm fine. But you have to really realize, I love the freedom of, it's not like I don't work all the time. I probably work more than most people that have a 9-to-5 job, but I love what I do, so I don't care. And then another thing, I think because I'm in the beauty industry as a makeup artist, but I write about beauty, I'm on TV, it's always different. I don't have a normal day. Like today I have a podcast, and then I'm going to have a meeting with my partners, and I'm going to write an article. So I keep things fresh because I'm doing something, it's still in my same world, but it's different. So I don't get bored, because I could just, I wouldn't like that feeling of, and then people complain, oh, I hate my job. I hate my job. Well, that's on you. You chose that job. And if you don't like it, I don't like hearing people complain without a solution.
Right. Yeah.
So if you don't like it, change it. And maybe if you change a lot of the thing is attitude. If people change their attitude, they'll be a lot more pleasant to be around. They will be, they'll like their job more. Why don't you like your job? Figure out the why, just like what you said. Why don't you like it?
Exactly. All right. So how do people find out more about you? Where would you like them to go to find out more about you and or your businesses?
So you can go to ChristinaFlach.com. You can go to I'mTooBusyTV.com. You can go to PrettyGirlMakeup.com, and soon to be ITB Wellness.
ITB. So I as an
yes, I'm too busy.
I'm too busy wellness. Okay. And I'mTooBusyTV.com.
Yes.
So tell us what, if you were going to give people one last piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Love your life. Laugh and love. Enjoy. Be happy. Take time in the middle of the day, at your lunch break, go for a walk, get some fresh air, move, keep moving. So important.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much for being here today, Christina.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, your passion and all that you're up to, it's an inspiring story of reinvention and expansion and making a difference. So for those of you who are at various stages listening to this, you can take different pieces of her journey and apply them to you. But really, truly, I think probably what I heard the loudest was create a what is it that I want to solve in the world? What's the problem I want to solve? What am I really passionate about? And what do I love doing? And then how do I make that something that I can do on an ongoing basis that contributes and creates cash flow if that's something that's important to you as well? If you're not clear on that and you would like support with clarifying it, please reach out to me. I am great at helping you clarify your why and how you're going to turn that into a business. So thank you for listening. Please share this episode and subscribe, and have a bodacious week, everybody. Bye for now. Thank you for listening. I'd love it if you left a comment and subscribed. And I encourage you to apply one aha from this interview right away so you can turn your wisdom into wealth and your contribution into positive change. Bye for now.